All right, welcome to Mountain Crypto. I'm your host, Shane, and today we are going to talk about Bitcoin going to the $50,000 level. So let's get right into it. Um, I don't want to look at that one. Let's look at this chart here. I just did a little short on the 200-day moving average. And here it is here at tradingdigits.io. And you can see the chart is laid out pretty clearly here. You've got your Bitcoin price up here at the top. And then you've got your 200-day moving average. So anywhere you move this chart, you can kind of see what's going on. So like if we go back here to 2011, when we were here on 26, or excuse me, on yeah, it says 18/6/11, so I guess that's June. The right around there, we had this top where Bitcoin was at like 17 bucks, right? And I actually bought a few Bitcoin right before this, right over here. I bought some Bitcoin when Bitcoin was like a buck, right in here. It was about end of 2010, right in there. Can you believe that? I bought it right. I paid more than the price because it was a weird way that I bought it. I bought a wallet and it was supposed to have like 5 or so Bitcoins in it. Anyway, I only paid like 25, 30 bucks for it, and then I lost it. Yeah. Oh, what a drag. But anyway, you can see here it was way up here, and then when it dropped below, now you had this $2.35 buying opportunity below the 200-day market, and that's the time to buy. And then it goes sideways, right? And then you got the little ladder up, and you're already in the money, right? Up, up, up. It went up for all this time. It's just screaming. And, anytime you were buying, like in here, if you had just kept buying, dollar cost averaging in for this period from, let's see, you would have bought from 11/10 to 21 to 12/11. So a year buying time right there. And then look at all this uptime you would have had where your Bitcoin would have been worth up to $850. But a lot of people are like, oh, Shane, that was such a long time ago, right? Okay, well, let's go over here. Here, Bitcoin is at 16, okay? So when I really got back into Bitcoin, this was right about the time right here. We started buying, I think it was, we started buying it's right about 3,000. Right in here somewhere, we started buying around July, August. We started buying Bitcoin. That's when I got back into Bitcoin, and I did not make the right moves through this period at all. I was way off. This whole cycle here, I did not do very good. But when I came out of this cycle, I did very good because I was buying down here when it went under the line. Now I wasn't utilizing this principle, but I was like, man, it's down, I'm going to buy it. I know it's going to go up. It was way up here at $17,000 a Bitcoin. So we bought Bitcoin at $3,500 all over the place here. And then we had the market start to go up. It went sideways. There's another little buying opportunity right here. We had this long bear market really between here, and then we finally reached these $50,000, $60,000, almost $70,000 tops. And boy, was I feeling smart. So now we dip down again. There's all these buying opportunities. I think my average buying cost through this time, the last cycle, because Coinbase will tell you your average buying price, and that's where I bought most of my Bitcoin. It was like 27,000. So From the time I was buying way down here until here, I was buying Bitcoin. And when the price would drop, I would buy more. And so there we were, right? And I sold bits and pieces of it along the way at a profit. And if you look back at my videos, I used money toward buying a house. I used money to pay off my wife's car, pay off, trying to think. Pay off one of our cars. I used money to buy a truck, computers, all kinds of stuff. And I still had that original, all the money I ever put in the beginning is still there. So it's all profit that I was able to take off. So anyway, here we are now. We're going through this long sideways market, and the gains have been very moderate. This bull market was not what anybody expected. We expected a lot more, a lot more, but we didn't get it. We were up to that 125,000, I think that was about the top, and now we're actually dipping back down. This scale's not showing us, but right now we're below the 200-week moving average, which is a buying opportunity. So dollar cost average, or if you have a large chunk of money, of course, this is not financial advice. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. I gotta always give that disclaimer, because people do what they want to do, and everybody's financial situation is different. You know the whole story, right? Don't put more in than you can afford to lose. It's all on you. So here we are, and we're dipping, and we're in a bear market. And I've been saying, hey, the charts show we're in a bull market. So believe it. I mean, in a bear market, excuse me, we're in a bear market. Believe it, we're in a bear market. So I bought back in a little bit because I sold everything. I sold almost all my Bitcoin, and except for a small chunk, probably about a sixth of it, maybe a fifth, somewhere between a fifth and a sixth of my Bitcoin bag, I sold. All but that. I just had that little chunk left, and I have not sold that. And then another sixth chunk I took, and I started buying back in. And I bought back in at the low 80s and 70s, I think it was. And then, I thought maybe we were going to have a kind of a bull bounce. And I went against the market, which is still in a bear market. No bull market was confirmed. And look, now we dropped. And I got that money locked up. And I had a sell in there. Like if I could have sold it at 89, I was going to go ahead and get out and wait for it to dip, because I'm like, man, that bounce I'd hoped for didn't happen. So when you're in a bear market and you try to bet on a bounce, it's risky. And I lost. I lost. I could have, if I had not bought back in, I would have had more money to buy back in now. So now I'm starting to dollar cost average in again. And I'm going a little slower because there's nothing indicating that we're headed toward a bull market, or that there's any increase. I'm sure we're going to have some correction and go back up. But you know what? The last few days, the correction I thought we were going to get, it's not happening. ETFs are dumping, and we could likely, I say this and I'll probably do the opposite, but if people keep dumping, we're going to see prices in the $50,000 zone. So I think that's going to happen in the next days to month. And I think, I do believe we are days to a month, maybe 2 or 3 months max, with some sideways, and before we start to go up. And the way the market's acting, there could be some phases in this, steps, once we start trying to get out of this super bearish market. There could be some steps that are quite large and quite rapid, because there's just not a lot of Bitcoins out there. 95% of them been issued. There's very few left to be mined. There's only about 450 Bitcoins produced per day, and that's going to get cut in half here in another couple years. And these exchanges, more of them are popping up all the time. And when they start buying, they're going to buy like crazy. And there's some new Bitcoin companies that actually have probably better management of their stock price, their daily stock price, than Stretch. If you're familiar with Stretch, this is used to be a company called MicroStrategy. Now it's called Strategy. He pays a dividend or yield on Bitcoin. It averages about 8 to 11%. I think they're even talking to going up to 13%, while trying to maintain a daily stock price of $100. When it goes down and it gets close to the time for them to pay their dividend, it hurts the company. A lot of people are playing this game where, and more power to them, they buy in at just the right time of the month to qualify for the dividend, and then they get out as soon as they can, and they do other stuff with their money. So they're pulling in and pulling out to try to capture these dividends. So now MicroStrategy is talking about paying twice a month instead of once a month, which I think that'll help with price stability a little bit. But there's another company that's doing a Bitcoin strategy. I think it's called, what is it? Stata? I think it's Stata, STAA or something. But anyway, this other company is going to be paying its dividends daily, and that's designed to try to keep people from pulling their Bitcoin out and keeping it in there longer so that they could have a more stable price for their stock. So what the idea is that these companies have is that they're going to stockpile Bitcoin. They're betting Bitcoin is going to continually gain, and they're hoping that they have enough reserves to pay these dividends month by month without having to sell Bitcoin, but they have to be able to weather the down markets. So you have to look at, how are they getting their cash, what the market's doing. If Bitcoin goes down, like right now, MicroStrategy could be struggling to get their dividend payments, and then they start selling Bitcoin, and then that makes the market tank, and then their price goes down of their stock, and then people don't like it and they want to bail. So these are new. I'm not recommending you buy an ETF. They're risky right now. The whole Bitcoin ETF and crypto ETFs, they're very speculative. They're trying to do things that nobody's ever really done before. In the past, whenever anybody's tried to create a yield off of Bitcoin, it's always turned out to be disaster. Whether you look at Celsius or FTX, I think it could be done if they have enough reserves. I think they need to diversify their portfolios to have some income revenue generating. And if you're familiar with Tom Lee, he's a very well thought of financial guy in finances. He's run with big financing or big companies, investing companies. And he's got a huge business where he's stockpiling Ethereum, and at least Ethereum pays a dividend. So he could theoretically not be able to keep the price stable of his stock per share, but he could theoretically at least be able to pay a dividend, and then people could weather out the bear market. But I think people like to see both. They want to see price stability, and they want to see some return on their investment. So it's a tough one with crypto or even with Bitcoin. So we'll have to see how this all fares out. But that puts the point is that puts pressure on Bitcoin price, because if the market goes really, really low, they're going to be dumping on the market, and that's going to push it down even lower. So I think that's what we're going to see is the $50,000 area. The transitions that Bitcoin makes per day have been going a little bit down, but it's the sell market. So we see the sell market. There's more people selling right now than buying, but usually we see more Bitcoin being, this is a great indicator here, this coin glass chart here. You can see, look at how many, way down, way down. This is the price, and then the balances on the exchanges. I've got a list of that somewhere. Where was that? Where was that list? Was it here? No, not there. Where did it go? I had a list of all the different companies. Huh. Well, I don't see it here, but there's quite a few coins on the exchanges right now, which definitely that demonstrates. There we go. So here is a list on coinglass.com of the coins that are on the market. But you know what? They will peel when it gets time to buy. These companies are all going to peel these balances off little by little. They're gonna take them and they're gonna store them off the exchange, and they're gonna sell them to people like Michael Saylor and all these different Bitcoin exchanges. They're gonna sell them to countries. They're gonna sell them to these high worth entities, institutions, individuals, so that when they sell it, it won't affect the retail price hardly at all. It'll affect the supply, because you and I, we if we go crazy, it's going to be hard for it to make a big difference on a site like Coinbase, Binance, Bitfinex, Kraken, OKX, Gemini. We're not going to be able to move that balance much where it affects the price that much. But these other guys, if they went in and took these off of this exchange, it would change the price very quickly. So what these exchanges do is they slowly siphon off, and it's very methodical. So at night, when the largest part of the world is sleeping and the smallest part of the world is buying and selling, they're siphoning these off. On the days when it's slow activity, they're siphoning off these Bitcoins off their balance sheet and putting them into cold storage to be sold to these high net worth individuals. And just 2 weeks ago, we were hearing about, Michael Saylor bought the biggest number ever, blah, blah, blah. And then he says he's selling 32, and all of a sudden everybody goes crazy and the price drops. So anyway, I do believe we are going to see a recovery from this year and start heading back up. And I don't know about the end of this year, but definitely in the next 6 months to 18 months, not the next 6 months, but we're going to have this bear market's got to last. I would say, it could recover very quickly and we could be in a bull market in a couple weeks. That's pretty unlikely. More likely is it's going to gradually go up in jumps, 10, 20%, maybe even at a time, and stair step back up over a period of weeks and months. And then that's pushing us toward the end of the year. And then we're going to start, people are going to start getting interested in Bitcoin, and the steam's going to start building, and we're going to push on up to a bull market again. I think we're going to be back in a bull market this year, and all-time highs, they could be reached this year, but probably next year. And again, not financial advice, but just looking at the way the market is going. So that's all I got for you. I hope you found it interesting about the 200-day, 200-week moving average. And you look at this and make a decision if you're investing in Bitcoin to do so wisely and take advantage of these really buying opportunities that, as you've seen over the chart, you cannot really fail. When you buy here and wait, when you buy here and wait, when you buy here and here and you wait, when you buy here, and now we are back in that dip again. So this is going to play out unless the end of the world comes. It's going to play out the same thing. We're going to gradually or quickly go up to bigger, higher gains. You see how it stair steps here? That's very, very traditional. Climb up after these lows. Here's another one. He hit these lows right here. Slowly, finally. This one's kind of a wave, and then woo, there you go. So we're going to see the same thing. All right, that's it. Goodbye. Have a great day.